Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am Reverend Michael Lehman. I'm a pastor at Marquesas Congregation here in Los Angeles. And it really is my honor to be here with you today and also to welcome you on behalf of the family. I know how very grateful they are that you all have joined in this celebration today. So we gather today from near and far to remember with love and gratitude the life of Richard Favara. We remember him and we give thanks for all that he has been to each one of us. Would you please join me in prayer? Gracious and loving God, you renew our inner strength. You touch our hearts and you fill us with your love. In all of life's seasons, you help us to find meaning and you give us the grace to live amidst all of the sorrow and all of the beauty that we know as this life. Please be with and comfort Richard's family and friends in this season of grief, and be with us in this time of sharing and remembrance today, and give us your hope and your peace for each day from here. God, we thank you for Richard and the gift that he was to us. Amen. At this time, I'd like to invite Andy to share our opening video. She's done a wonderful job in preparing some memories today to help us remember Richard. So I'll invite her to share this first video.
It was just beautiful.
Great.
Thank you for that, Andy.
Oh.
And now I'd like to share a poem called Crossing the Bar by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me, and may there be no moaning of the bar when I put out to sea, but such a tide as moving seems asleep, too full for sound and foam, when that which drew from out the boundless deep turns again home. Twilight and evening bell, and after that the dark, and may there be no sadness of farewell when I embark. For though from out our bourne of time and place the flood may bear me far, I hope to see my pilot face to face when I have crossed the bar. I'd like to read now a eulogy written by Rob in loving memory of Richard. I had the privilege of getting to know Richard 3 times. The first time was after he met and fell in love with my mom while living in California. The second was after they moved out to Georgia, where they spent Richard's last 2 years and 364 days at their beautiful southern estate in Lumpkin. The third time was sadly after his passing. After Mom and Richard moved in together, we often didn't spend much time with Richard when we visited, as he was frequently secluded in his bedroom working on some sort of project. I now understand that he was usually in such severe pain that he was trying to allow everyone else to enjoy themselves while he tried to rest and find some peace from his pain. Unknowingly, I initially took this for indifference or perhaps aloofness, which is part of the reason that I only partially got to know Richard while he was living in California, which is something that I regret to this day. It wasn't until Simon and I visited Mom and Richard in Lumpkin in November of 2019 that I truly got to know Richard, where I was able to see him for an extended period of time in his own environment. I was also able to spend a lot more time talking with him about any number of things. I'll be forever grateful for those few days as I actually got to know him for the man that he was before his body started to break down and give out on him, which made the man that he was at that later time of his life even more impressive. I remember leaving Georgia after that visit and being so impressed by his positive attitude and the sheer amount of determination and willpower that he expressed each and every day, where he would push his elderly and crippled body through what I knew to be excruciating pain, as he spent hours while trying to keep doing the many things that he used to be able to do with such ease and expertise. What impressed me most was Richard's absolute will and ingenuity, where despite all of his hardships and handicaps, he still managed to do damn near everything that he needed or wanted to get done. Although it is sad to say, I actually got to know Richard the best after his death. I certainly feel that I know him more intimately after spending nearly a week going through the accumulated wealth of his entire life's treasures. Although I initially questioned why he wanted to bring so many things from LA to Georgia, I now understand his motivation. And were I to put myself in his place, I can't say that I would have done anything different. So for that, my hat is off to you, Richard, wherever you are now. During the last week I spent with Mom, John, Josie, and Aunt Gail, we spent many hours each day going through the entire house. It was a daunting task, which started with cleaning out the junk. Although there was plenty of junk, I was constantly amazed by the volume and sheer diversity of items that were, in my opinion, absolute treasures, that were clearly worthy of being transported from LA to Georgia. I was also blown away by the near genius ways that Richard managed to use what can only be called an absolute plethora of hand tools and Velcro to somehow improve the quality of his life. It was also very apparent that Richard managed to employ creativity and mechanical ingenuity in so many, many different ways that I couldn't be anything but impressed. It is no exaggeration to say that Richard had more hand tools around his bedside workstation than most people will ever use or even touch during their lifetime. But what impressed John and I the most was that in addition to literally thousands of tools, Richard also had two excellent pistols, a wicked folding bayonet knife, and a pair of brass knuckles, all within an arm's reach of his bed, all located discreetly, just where he could get to them if he ever needed to defend himself or my mom. I came to learn that Richard was a very thoughtful and prepared man, where he had an emergency kit, blankets, a lot of tools, emergency food, and a pair of brass knuckles and a pistol in the trunk of his car, with a similar setup in my mom's trunk, sans the brass knuckles and pistol. The more I think about it, the more I am impressed by the man that Richard was. He was truly an exceptionally gifted person, and I miss him. All things considered, these are some of my thoughts on Mr. Richard Favara. Richard was a man that was driven by his interests, and there were many. He was a man that pursued his interests to their absolute fullest. And where most people are lucky to have one or two such passions in their lifetime, Richard had many. His life was truly amazing, and he lived it to its absolute fullest until the very end, never giving up despite all of his hardship and suffering. Richard had a warrior's heart and an explorer's spirit, and this pushed him to the max, which is clearly manifested in the diversity of what he did during his life. And this is only what I observed personally. Richard was a husband, father, actor, singer, musician, cowboy, welder, audio recorder, scuba diver, producer, electrician, expedition leader, photographer, computer technician, author, explorer, plumber, mountain climber, religious scholar, inventor, businessman, carpenter, and the absolute ultimate kung fu fucking master of all things Velcro. Pardon my French, but Richard would certainly understand and agree. Richard did so many things during his life, and he kept many of the things that he'd accumulated along the way. I understand now that although his body was breaking down in so many ways, he was so determined that he refused to give in and quit, which is why he never threw in the towel and got rid of all of his stuff, as he had to think that he was eventually going to heal to the point where he would be able to use his things again. In his final years, Richard never gave up despite the constant excruciating pain that he suffered from, where until his final days, he continued to work on a variety of projects from the confines of his bed. This resulted in his having nearly every sort of tool that he might possibly need, all within arm's reach of his bed, because he was in too much pain to even move across the room to retrieve something. Richard was no quitter, and he pushed himself until the very end, working endless hours throughout his final years, despite all of his suffering, and his motivation and refusal to give in will be an inspiration to me until my dying days. Richard had a kind heart, was an animal lover extraordinaire, and had a wise guy's sense of humor that even years of severe pain couldn't squash. And above all, he was absolutely in love with and adored my mom. He told me so in one of our last conversations, and I'll treasure that for my lifetime. And with this reading, I hope she will too. We will all miss Richard truly. With love, rest in peace, Richard Favara, August 2nd, 2020. You can rest now. Actually, you can go meet up with Charlie at the Rainbow Bridge, where you'll have just enough time for a nice long walk with Grandma and Tasha, while you wait for the rest of us to join me. So until then, all the best. Rob, August 10th, 2020.
Sir.
Thank you for those wonderful words, Rob, that captured Richard so well. At this time, I'd like to invite Andy to share the second video that she's prepared for us.
Candyman can, 'cause he mixes it with love and makes the world taste good. Candyman makes everything he makes satisfying and delicious.
It's you, it's you, it's you I'm talking to now. Why do you look so sad and forsaken? When one door is closed, don't you know the other is open? Would you let the system make you kill your brother, man? No, 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 Dread, no. Would you make the system make you kill your brother, man? No, Dread, no. No, Dread, no. Well, the biggest man you ever did see was just a baby.
I just like to share one more thing, and this is a special reading. This is a poem that Richard wrote for his mother on her birthday back in 1984. And as Lynn shared with me this week, it really does capture his optimistic and hopeful spirit in spite of all the hardships that he faced in his life. I've dreamed many dreams that never came true. I've seen them vanish at dawn. But I've realized enough of my dreams, thank God, to make me want to dream on. I've prayed many prayers when no answer came, though I waited patient and long. But answers have come to enough of my prayers to make me want to keep praying on. I've trusted many a friend that failed and left me to weep alone. But I found enough of my friends true to make me keep trusting on. I've sown many seeds that fell by the way for the birds to feed upon. But I've enough golden sheaves in my hands to make me keep sowing on. I've drained the cup of disappointment and pain and gone many days without song. But I've sipped enough nectar from the roses of life to make me want to live on. Richard Favara, August 27th, 1984.
Some say our world is getting too small. So many things to learn, but we'll enjoy each lesson. I say with kindness, there's room for us all. Problems don't worry us when half the fun is guessing. Our world is always changing. Every day's a surprise. And the surprise. Love can open your eyes in our world. When night lights set upon you, go watch the simple sunrise. Love can open your eyes. to do. Forget about your women and that water can. Today you're working for the man. Well, pick up your feet, we've got a deadline to meet. I'm gonna see you make it on time. Oh, don't relax, I want elbows and backs. I wanna see everybody from behind. 'Cause you're working for the man. Working for the man. You gotta make him a hand. Working for the man. So I'm picking them up and I'm laying them down.
I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do, and saw it through without exemption. I planned each charted course, each careful step along the byway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way.
Indeed, Andy, thank you. Would you all please join me in prayer? O God, creator of all life, accept now our hopes and dreams, which cannot be fulfilled in this earth alone. We ask that as you take Richard back into your own self, you will bless him with the fullness and wholeness of life lived out eternally in your loving presence. Take our love and add it to yours, that he may be richly blessed. And until that day, we may again see Richard and all those who have gone before us. Grant us your peace and strengthen our resolve to live with love for one another and for you. You are our trust. Your love never fails. And we thank you for all of these gifts. Amen.
Amen.
At this time, I'm going to say goodbye to you all and allow you some time to share and be together as family and friends. And again, I want to share that this was truly my honor to be here today in this capacity with you. And Richard is certainly someone I wish I could have known. But thank you for helping me know who this special person was today in so many important ways. And please know that the church and I will continue to hold you all in prayer in your grief. And I am available if you might need to speak with me in the future. Marquesa, you're certainly welcome to share my email or phone number with anyone that might request it. So God be with you all and take care.
Wonderful.
Lovely. Just
It
lovely.
was really beautiful, Andy.
Thank you.
Thank you for all that work that you did.
Mr. Marquesa, and you.
I had
You
no
too, Ann.
idea Richard was so many aspects to his life. Incredible. Your dad was great, Marquesa.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's gusto, and that's living life to the maximum. Wow, I'm dazzled.
Hey, kids, share.
You know, if I could add one thing, as much as what we just saw, it's only a tiny bit of his whole story, you know. And you know, I first met Richard in 1988 when I first moved to LA, and I was looking for a job. Came down as an actor, and I was looking for some part-time work. And at that point, he had a executive recruiting company. That was, his offices were in Burbank, and I went and visited him there, and I realized I was immediately fascinated by him. And then he reminded me so much of Alan Alda, actually, because he had that kind of voice and the look, the way he carried himself. Such a charismatic guy. I think I met him right when he had his 50th birthday. And from that, we went, and then when he did that thing with working on the Kuwait reconstruction, I was working with him on that too. And then I booked him in all these shows on CNN and everything. And then he went going to Kuwait a couple of times. And then other businesses he had after that, I would work with him. He had a thing called the American Education Project. He had, what was the other thing? Oh, then he had an ISP, and I worked with him when he had an ISP. And then whenever I needed some place to film, because I did a couple of indie movies, if I asked him, I said, "Hey, Richard, can I shoot in your place? Can I shoot in your offices?" He would always say yes. He never once ever told me no. And if I had any kind of problem, he always would give me the shirt off his back without any question every single time. He was that kind of guy. He was an amazing guy. He was a genius. He was definitely a genius.
I remember before when I would go, because I was the neighbor next to Lynn and Richard for so many years. And one of the things that I enjoyed when I would walk over there is in Richard's room, with all the monitors that he had up, if you look to the side, you can see all the really neat pictures. So Steve, you're right. When I was looking at those, that kind of brings a little bit of background as to what was going on with those, you know, and just to see, it's like, wow. I mean, he did so many things. It's just amazing how many he did. And it's like, wow.
Yeah, it's incredible. And he was a singer, and then he was a photographer, and then he a computer genius. I mean, he worked on my computer so many times, you know. And anytime I had, I love it when Lynn's son was talking about every tool you could possibly imagine, because you never knew. You know, anything I needed, if something broke down, I need something fixed, I would call him. He said, "Oh yeah, I got that. Come on by. Yeah, we'll fix that. No problem." Every time.
Paul's laughing at that one.
I'm going to have to say goodbye. I didn't know Richard very well, but I want to express my condolences. It sounds like he was just a wonderful person. And Lynn, I love you. Robbie, John, catch up with you soon. Everybody take care, be safe. And I was happy to be a part of this. Thank you so much.
Good to see you. Take care. You bet.
Take care, brother.
Well, I'd like to say something, if I may. I've known Richard, of course, probably longer than anybody else, because I'm 74, so I've known him for 74 years. Richard was a real kick when he was younger. There was 7 years difference between us. And I always remember my mother, when he was in high school, she always had a problem because she would take him to school. He would go in the front door, and then he would go back out the back door. And so she would have to drive around the back and make sure that he got back in class, and so he wouldn't be considered a truant. Now, for a person to accomplish as much as he did, and the brilliance that he had with him, it was funny for me to think about him really wanting to be not in high school at all. But he made extremely good grades even for his truancy, and truly he was very good to me in teaching me a tremendous number of things. And I really was not too good to him when I was a child. I used to drop water balloons on him when he was going out a date. I would be on the second floor, he'd be coming out the front door, and I'd drop a water balloon on him. And he'd be, I'm going to kill you. I really am going to kill you. But he never did. So I was lucky that way. But when he was 16, I was just 9. So there's an excuse, I guess. But very, very kind hearted gentleman. And really, as he got older, we got to know each other for the years that he was gone from the U.S. because I really did not know much about what was going on when he was in expedition. And it looks as if he had a great deal of fun and a very, very good hard work, but a very good time down there. And Andrea, thank you for that. Pictures and video that you put together of that. That was very, very educational.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah, the photograph that you have, and I'll leave it at that, the photograph that you have of the house in there, that house is the house that Richard grew up in, and the house that I was brought home when I was born. And a few years ago, I went to New York, and I went out to see if it was still there, just to, see what would happen. It is identical to that picture. It hasn't changed. Well, at least that's 4 years ago. For 4 years ago, that house is exactly the same color, has the same trees, has the same plantings, it looks just like that photograph, which I thought was simply amazing. So he would be right at home if he could see that again. I want to thank everybody for how they put all this together. I do really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Uncle Bob.
One other thing too.
I wanted to say,
I just want to say that I was with Richard at the time when he lost his leg, and it was a kind of a shock to him that it happened. He didn't know it was going to happen, and but what a blessing it was that Lynn came into his life at that point, because that's when he, for the first time, he really needed somebody desperately, and thank God, because I mean he went through hell with that, and then because of all the complications, and it was just awful what he went through. And so God bless you, Lynn, for being there for him. That was just an amazing blessing for him. I'm a little sad to see that there was no mention too much of Annette and her family. I know that was a very painful period. It was a very wonderful period for him in some ways, but how it ended was horribly painful. And I know there was a lot of bitterness and resentment about that. I'm sorry.
We don't have any pictures of her or them. They're just not. They don't exist.
And I didn't. I mean, they're the ones who always taking pictures, but that was. But it was funny what your son said, Lynn, about people would come over and Richard would stay in his room, but he was always like that. Because what Richard was great about letting people come to his house and have parties, because Annette and her family always loved to have parties, right, Marquez? And they always had tons of people over, it was so much fun. But generally, he would come out every so often a little bit, but generally he would be back in his office, working on things. And he was fine with that, because he always had stuff going on in his head. He always had something he had to work on. You couldn't have one monitor. You couldn't have two monitors. You couldn't have three monitors.
Oh.
He had to have a whole Star Trek Enterprise right there in his cockpit.
So about 8 of them in that office.
I was kind of around when he was at the VA too, and and I thought he was only going to have above his ankle amputated. So as a gift, I brought him a pair of tap shoes, because he had been taking tap with his daughter, and I thought that would be apropos. And once he had his prosthesis, he could go back to tap dancing. So I thought that was really fine, but I was horrified to find out where they had to go to amputate. So I tried to get him to stay at the hospital at least overnight, and he wouldn't do it. It's the same old stubborn Richard. So he took himself home. And again about Annette, which is very interesting, because she totally left, and she took everything with her, including all the photographs, including a lot of everything. And I was thinking that maybe I should just put in a little music video tribute called She Got the Gold Mine, I Got the Shaft. I thought that might be a little bit too high, so I let that.
In all fairness, they had some wonderful times.
I'm sure they did, but we have nothing to show for
right now, and it ended horribly, and I was disappointed in her and the whole family, actually, but how it ended. Yeah.
Well,
But who, you know, who's the judge?
well, I know, but he told me once the thing that always could be done to get Richard to talk I would bring an 18-year-old bottle of scotch out, and he enjoyed that, and he would talk.
Yeah.
And I never did understand all that about the breakup. I understood that he paid $90,000+ for her daughter's wedding, which I thought was awfully extravagant. And then her daughter wouldn't even talk to him. So I don't really understand what it was, but that is a very bitter pill to swallow after going to that for a child that's not yours.
No, and you know, because he, in fact, one of the times when I booked him on a speaking tour after on the Kuwait thing was up in Canada, and that's how she came to see him speak, and that's how they met. So he wound up coming back to LA with her. They fell in love at the time, and then, but then he worked to bring all her kids down here, and then and her daughter's boyfriend, and they gave him a job, and everything seemed like it was going okay. And then a good friend of mine I introduced to one of her daughters, and they wound up getting married, and that was the marriage you're referring to. I don't know if it cost $90,000. I was at the wedding. I don't know. That sounds a little crazy, but be that as it may, I mean, he was there to give the daughter away, and he made sure that he would, you know, I mean, gave her a wonderful experience, you know, and I'll never understand why it ended in such a bitter way. And I talked to them about it, and I went over and talked to them again about it after he lost his leg, and they just refused to listen to me about it.
Well, that's a shame.
Yeah, it was a shame. Yeah.
I'm going to sign off now.
Don't ever get sick right before a holiday.
What's that, Lynn?
Yeah, don't ever get sick right before a holiday, because that's what happened. He went in with a blue toe the day before Thanksgiving in 2011,
right.
and none of the doctors wanted to stick around. They sedated him and let him lay on a gurney for 3 days until the next Saturday, and then, you know, the leg had turned to stone, and that's why they had to amputate so high.
Yeah.
They had done even a simple pulse test in all the years that he treated with the VA. They would have found that there was no circulation down there, and they could have put a stent in, you know, just an outpatient procedure, but didn't happen that way. Don't get sick before Thanksgiving or Christmas. Bad news.
Yeah.
Like to chime. I'm going to like to sign off now, actually, folks. I unfortunately only met Richard a few times, but I worked for years with Andy, and I'm very fond of Andy and Marchesa and those folks. And from the times I did meet him, he clearly was a incredibly creative person. And I thank everybody here for letting me understand even a little bit more about what an incredible personality he was, and what an amazing person he was. So thank you very much, and goodbye, all.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Richard just made it so easy to love him. I loved him from the day we met and never stopped. I wasn't ready for him to leave yet. We had so much time, so many plans. Yeah, my cat wants to be part of this. Thank you all for, you know, participating in this celebration of his life. Steve, I wanted to thank you also for all your comments and for giving him that idea to write down his a list of the major accomplishments through the years. I've kept that, and it's been a source of amazement And he shared it with a lot of people because it just gives them such a good, big, wide overview of some of the things that he did. So thank you for giving him that idea.
We have Rick on the phone.
I've been listening. I volunteered at church, and it went a bit late today, so I walked about 3 kilometers listening from the beginning of the service. So it was really lovely. Lots of lovely words. I didn't have much time with Richard. But I had he did some very cool things in my life that made a big difference. And regret is, we both agreed when we spent some time, about a month in 84-ish, 83-ish, we both agreed that regret's a stupid thing to have, and that you're much better off in trying to treat it like a nice salad bar in life, that the pieces that you get are what's important. He flew me home when I was staying there to see when my grandfather died, my mother's father. And we spent some really lovely time there. When I was a little kid, he got me a cassette player that recorded, and that changed my life. And that's like another thing when people talk about the technology with Richard. He was such an inspiration that way. I wish we could have done more photography stuff by the time I was into that. And of course, he created 2 amazing people, Marquesa sitting right there, who we've become really good friends over the last few years, and my sister Kim. So I'll be ever grateful to him for bringing them into the world.
Richard, did you get to see the video at all?
I did. I watched all of them.
Oh, you're so cute and adorable.
Thank you. I'm growing my Santa beard.
I see. Well, that'll come in handy.
He was they often will talk about people. They used to say it more in the past that about when certain people are born, they break the mold. And I think they sort of broke the mold with Richard. Like there's so few people that I have come across in my rich life that ever could compare to him. I would just start talking. They go, "Well, your birth father, what did he do?" I'd go say like 3 things, and they'd all just be quiet after that. So, yeah, he was exceptional.
Come down to visit. Come back down to visit. Or we should all move up to live with you.
Canada's a lovely place, but you live near Savannah?
No, that's Lynn. I live in Tehachapi.
Oh yes, you live in Tehachapi.
North of LA.
I've been trying to get there, and then I had a ticket to come, in the spring, and then of course, I just got the money back from the airline. I had a ticket to come out to LA in the spring to do visiting, but it's lovely to hear all the other people talk about him. I mean, Marquez and I have spoken a lot about him in our shared experiences and what we know. So I really appreciate, Andy, especially all the work you went to with all those pictures, and because a lot of them I've never seen too. It's like Robert said, I knew he was in Central America, but I every so often I get a postcard, or he called, I think, once, and but it's lovely to see that. And Marqueza, what happened to your blonde hair?
Yeah, that went away a long time ago.
She's got her daddy's beautiful hair.
Yes, she did. She did indeed. But lovely words. Thank you so much.
Rick, we have a whole series of kind of travel with Charlie letters about that time in Latin America that we had put in the insert pages of our magazine. I'll send you copies if you're interested. It's basically with Charlie. He did, she said, the dog jumped, that kind of stuff. But you might want to read them.
I'd love that.
Great. Terrific.
I would love that.
Yeah, if anybody's interested, I have copies of, I think, almost all of the magazines that he kept the extra copies, and they're still here.
Well, that's good news because I don't. I only have a couple of them. But I went to the Library of Congress because I sent an issue to the Library of Congress so it would be a perpetual, archive of it. And then when I went to the Library of Congress to look at them, they threw them away after 5 years. They're a commercial magazine. They
Highly
only keep
efficient
them for
government.
5 years and then they toss them. So, we charged a big
Oh, yeah, some
5%
permanent
issue
legacy.
and they considered us commercial, so they tossed them.
Well, that's permanence for you in the government.
Yeah.
Well, folks, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate everything that was done, Andy. You really put it together, and Marquesa put it together, and it's been heartwarming. It's been really a place where I can, grieve. And I very, very much, I do. I want to say thank you to each and every one of you. And I'm going to sign off now. But I love you all, and I appreciate everything that you did with my brother and for my brother and in my brother's life. Thank you.
Well, I guess I'm going to sign off to Joanne. Had I known what a wonderful woman you were to him, I would have been a lot easier about thinking about getting an annulment, but somehow it didn't sound like the proper thing to do since I had this child. So I didn't let that go. And whoa, Marquesa loves you still, I'm sure. And I thought you should know that. And Lynn, you're the best thing since sliced bread to come along for Richard. And I thank you every single day for the care and love you've given to him. So I'm glad I could have passed on that incredible piece of work to some wonderful women. And, it's funny, I did a show and there was this one small part. You had to come out backwards, only wearing these little pink panties. And nobody liked any of the girls who did it. And I got to be a pink panty girl once. And so, we formed this little group of the pink panty girls. Well, now we should form the group of the Richard misses, and
Bring
hang
the
out
pink
together
panties
and
too.
start a whole thing,
Yeah, you could start a singing group.
A singing group. Oh, yeah, that would be good. Oh, actually, we have the old arrangements, and Candyman was one of the songs that was in our arrangements for our nightclub act. That's why that was being played, Candyman. So I don't know how well you heard the music because I understood when we were trying to practice it, it cut in and out, but we're recording it, so maybe the recording will be better. Anyway, I love you, Marquesa, and so glad you did this. And we can consider this a dress rehearsal, so everybody go out and call 20 people you know, and we'll do the whole thing again next week so that everybody can get to know him.
Andy, could you put that online somewhere, like even on YouTube or something, what you put together? So.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I should. I'll get it sent to Marquesa and yeah. I mean, I worked too hard. I thought it came out pretty good. Yeah. I'll do that.
Very nice job.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, thank you very much, everybody, for letting us take part. Marquesa, Andy, Mom. Just,
Colin, Marquesa, give Tarek a hug. Huh?
Andy, thank you. You did a lovely job. I'm sorry I didn't get to know you sooner.
Yeah, me too.
I do, Richard. Always love Marquesa. Such a sweetheart.
And she knows it.
Yeah, there was a big gap after I stopped seeing Richard, and I always missed her. So it was really nice. One day she just showed up at my front yard with this beautiful, beautiful child with her. So I'm really glad that we've reconnected again. And Richard helped me a lot in a lot of ways. Had 3 kids I was taking care of and supporting. Could not do the damn computer to save my life. And it was the old method.
Me too.
Yeah, Apple came along and helped a lot. But before that, Richard got me a mailing list together and stuff. And I was trying to do this sales job in Hollywood. That was horrible. But I learned a lot from him. I couldn't believe he could just do everything. Just everything. And after we broke up, I was determined, you know, this isn't going to work. We're going to break up. I came home from work and he'd rebuilt a new picket fence around my house. Where did this come from? And yeah, sure enough, Richard did it. So there were those kind of surprises and things too. Thank you all. I really appreciate it. It was a 7 years, I guess, of my life. Must have been more than that on yours, for sure. But it's a lovely thing for you to do and help Marchesa with this. That's all of you.
Stay in touch.
Thank you.
We all have Zoom now.
Joanne.
Well, I'm still learning the computer, but it was really nice to be here. And I prefer the phone, actually. But when I found out that Richard had died through my daughter, I went on Facebook, and I had hated Facebook, but I've reconnected with a few people, and God, you don't realize how the kids grow so fast, and you lose contact if you're not on that thing all the time. So I guess I will get on it a little more often. But this has been lovely. Thank you very much. And thank Richard.
Thank you, Joanne.
Thank you.
Well, I'd just like to say thank you to Andy. It was very enjoyable. I really enjoyed seeing all the pictures and all the different things that he's done. I've read about him, but seeing it, it makes it come alive a little bit more. And Marchesa, I'm sorry for your loss. And of course, Lynn, my heart is with you. And I will go ahead and log off now. Thank you so much for letting me join you.
Oh, Gail, Gail Thompson, right?
Yes.
I want to thank you for all the few pictures I managed to find of Lynn. I went scurrying around and discovered there was a whole series on Facebook that said by Gail Thompson.
Oh,
and
really?
Sure enough, there were pictures of Lynn.
On trips or something.
The few pictures that were in there were the ones that came from you through Facebook just the last day, because we've been waiting for pictures from Lynn and they haven't arrived.
Oh,
so we couldn't put in more because there wasn't any. So thank you, Gail.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
My computer got hacked by ransomware, and so I lost 20 years of photos and memories and just every single thing on my computer. It's just like a hole in my life. Wow. And it happened at a very wrong time. And then we can't get into Richard's. He's probably has 1 million photos on his computer, but we haven't been able to get into his computer. So I wasn't able to help Andy with the photos hardly at all.
Oh, I just got, I got 5 albums here. I got 5 albums here that Marchesa, got to me. Yeah, thank you.
And there's another box on the way. You've got another box coming, and it's full of nothing but photos. It's going to take a while to go through all of those.
So Steve will have to do a short film for the festival.
Yeah. Hey, no problem. He would be a good subject.
Okay, Richard, you're on.
If any of you are filmmakers, I just want you to know that, you know, I do run the Studio City Film Festival, and if you ever want to submit something, I would not charge you a submission fee, and feel free to contact me. This is its 8th year, and we screen about 150 films every year. It runs for a week in November.
Coming up soon. You're going to be busy.
Marchesa, do you have anything to say?
Don't. I haven't really had a chance to process any of this. I've been just so busy with everything. But I do want to thank everybody for being here, and thank you, Mom, for putting in all the work. And my heart goes out to you, Lynn. I know this has been really hard. But yeah, no, like I said, thank you everybody for showing up and participating and sharing your stories. I'm not ready to share anything personally yet.
Okay, I'll say goodbye and kisses to
Thank you,
Terry
everybody.
wherever he is. Love you, kids.
Okay.
Yeah, you
Thank
guys all,
you.
we all have each other's number, I think now. So let's talk more.
Sounds great. Thank you, Marcus.
That's good.
Mr. Always.
We'll have to join you for Thanksgiving again sometime.
Absolutely, Paul. Can't wait to have you both up to the cabin. Your
You
boy.
have great Thanksgivings.
Thank you, Marquez.
Love to have
Thank
you
you,
guys
Andy.
over again.
Bye.
So,
All right.
all right, good.
Everybody
Bye,
take
Rick.
care.
It's good to see you. Bye, Joanne.
Bye.
Good to see you again, Joanne.